Hello, beautiful people. It's Tamatha Lene, and I just wanted to share with you two simple things that you can do if you are with anyone that is having a stroke or showing symptoms and signs of a stroke. My mom actually suffered from a stroke. I happened to be with her. I did these two things for her, and it arrested the stroke within probably a minute or so of the stroke starting. And because of that, she has no damage from the stroke. She's completely normal and herself. I wanted to make this video because of the recent events that have happened with actor, singer, comedian Jamie Foxx. If you haven't heard, he had a medical event earlier in the month of April and has been hospitalized, and the speculation is that the event he had was a stroke. A couple years ago, Sinbad, the comedian, also had a stroke and is still recovering from that. And if you want to watch the video that I did interviewing my mom the day after the stroke, because she was like, we got to tell people about this, you can watch that video. I'll link to that in the description box below. So I want to share these things with you so that if you happen to be with someone showing signs and symptoms of a stroke, you can do these things. Let's jump in. The first one is something called reflexology. So if you're not familiar with reflexology, here's a chart that shows like the feet and then also the hands. And I can link to where I got this on Amazon. But the main thing about reflexology is it deals with different pressure points within your hands, your feet, that correspond to different organs of the body. So I had learned probably 4 or 5 months earlier from a doctor online, Dr. Robert Morse, and he talked about how he was in the emergency room with a patient, just checking up on him. And while he was in the room, the patient went into cardiac arrest. And he did this reflexology point massage to stop the cardiac arrests and stop that for that patient. And I thought that was amazing. So that was just, I believe, God that had me watch that video so that I knew about this reflexology point for blood flow. And even though my mom wasn't having cardiac arrest, having a stroke has to do with blood flow. What it is with reflexology is something to get the blood flow going, like the Heimlich maneuver for blood. The Heimlich maneuver is if someone's choking, there's something blocking their air passageway. There's a maneuver you do that helps to move that blockage out of the air passageway. This is the same type of thing for the blood. If there's a blood clot happening anywhere in the body, you want to do this type of maneuver that will immediately remove that blockage or help blood flow start to happen. Some of the points for reflexology are on both hands and both feet, but for this specifically, it's on the left hand and it's on the left foot. It's right here between the ring finger and the pinky finger and down a little bit. So it's right in this little point here. Say like that's about a ½ inch or so. And then I just used my thumb and massage to the right in a circle. So I literally was doing that when she stopped talking and it hit me that, is she having a stroke? I literally just took her hand, her left hand, and I just started massaging in this point to the right in a circular motion to help blood flow. So when I started doing that, I was calling my dad, calling my husband who was there, saying, come, call 911. The next thing I did, I said, babe, get the brain and nerve tincture. So this is the tincture that I got. It's by Dr. Robert Morse. It's called Brain and Nerve Health, but it's just a tincture, a herbal tincture called Brain and Nerve. When my husband, he grabbed it because I had her hand and I didn't want to stop doing that. He grabbed this herbal remedy. Her mouth was kind of drooping. Her mouth was open. I squirted it in her mouth under her tongue, because the thing about herbs is even if someone doesn't swallow it, if you put an herbal tincture under someone's tongue, it starts to go into the bloodstream. It starts to absorb into the bloodstream because there's blood vessels and things like that under the tongue. So I just put it under her tongue, whether she could swallow it or not, because she was kind of incapacitated at that point. Put it under her tongue. And once I was doing that, put it under her tongue, I'd say this is less than a minute, maybe a minute that all this was happening. Literally all of a sudden, she just came to. She snapped out of it. And she said, what's wrong? What's going on? She was trying to figure out why everybody was gathered around her. The ambulance people came probably 3 or 4 minutes after that. And when they came, they didn't know who the patient was because everybody looked normal. But they suggested she go ahead and go to the hospital just to see what was going on. She really didn't want to go because she felt fine, but we were like, no, you need to go. And they did a scan and did find she had had 2 strokes. This herbal tincture by Dr. Robert Morse, Brain and Nerve, the combination of the reflexology and that is what arrested the stroke and completely stopped it, to the point that when she got there, there was really nothing they needed to do in order to stop because the stroke wasn't continuing. It's small enough so you could have it in your purse and just carry it with you, especially if you or someone you you love is a person at high risk for a stroke. My mom was at high risk for a stroke because she suffered from atrial fibrillation. Sometimes people have a stroke and they're by themselves, but if they are not by themselves and you happen to be the person with someone showing signs of a stroke, even if you don't have this herb with you, you got your hands, okay? And take your hands and grab their left hand and start rubbing right between the pinky and the ring finger to the right. Contributing factors for a stroke: if you're overweight, if you deal with diabetes, if you're older in age, if you have high blood pressure, if you are a person of color, African American, if you are on birth control, if you smoke, all these different things make you more susceptible to having a stroke. Now, you can't help what color you are, you can't help how old you are, but you can help your lifestyle. So exercise, really being vigilant and paying attention to what you're eating, not drinking alcohol excessively, stopping smoking if you are a smoker, and if you're on birth control, maybe looking into different methods that aren't hormonal in order to lower your risk factors of a stroke. A stroke can happen to anyone, no matter how healthy you are. Look at Jamie Foxx and how healthy and vibrant he is, and how he had this medical event, which they are speculating is a stroke. So no one is in the clear, but one thing that we can do is have knowledge of what we can do if we're with someone. And if you feel like something's going on, if you start to feel numbness, tingling, slurring your words, and you have enough mental awareness to do the reflexology point on yourself, do it. And if you have enough mental awareness to grab this tincture, grab it, put it in your own mouth, then call 911 if you're by yourself. And then also make sure to watch all the other videos on this channel on health and wellness and detox, healthy recipes. I have a new plant-based cookbook and detox transition guide called High Vibes that I've released with Derek product. Has lots of healthy recipes and shares different tips on fitness. It has a 28-day guide for healthier living and eating, plus recipes and meal plan, all of that. So go and check that out at Derek Product's website. Download that. If this video was helpful for you, please share it around, y'all. Spread the word that there is something we can do if we're with someone and they're experiencing a stroke. We don't just have to wait for the ambulance to come. It's almost 3 years later and she's just normal functioning. So I'm just so thankful that I was there and that I had that knowledge, and that's why I want to share it with you so that people don't have to suffer with the after effects of a stroke if you're with them and able to do the things that can help to arrest it until help comes. Because everyone's situation is different. In our case, even though she was having 2 strokes, those 2 things I did arrested both strokes. It might be different for other people, but at least this reflexology point or the herb or both could help to slow the stroke while you wait for emergency help to get there. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit the like button if you haven't already, and sending our prayers out to Jamie Foxx's family and to him and the doctors and that whole team. Anyone out there suffering with this, who has experienced this with a loved one or a family member, just sending prayers out of healing and perseverance and comfort. I'm Tamatha Lene. Thanks so much for watching. Take care, God bless, and I'll see you in the next video.